how did we get from 2 complaints to sort of a country in convulsions with itself?
Well, I believe it's trial by media. We're at an age now where we've got 24-hour television, the internet is readily available, pictures can be showed repeatedly, information can be distorted if needed to be so, and I'm afraid what we're seeing is a reflection of the BBC and the other powers that may be reacting to the pressure, untold pressure that's been brought by the media. So I think that's why we moved from 2 to as many as we
full story, have we, Ayo?
No, we haven't. And it's indicative of a lot of stories that come out, especially as people like the French are trying to make this hero-like scenario of going out there and freeing their people from the tyrants. But in reality, it's a completely different picture. What you do have is the fact that the raid itself may not necessarily have gone well. Local people may have been harmed. Apparently some people lost their lives, and of course quite a bit of the cash has not been found. So we have a raid which is shown as being a success, but has many failures attached to it.
Yeah.
This level of intimidation and thuggery, which we see a lot of piracy, is very common in those waters. But on the other hand, we can't accept this.
Yes.
We can't accept piracy in the open seas.
Why is that, by the way?
Well, it's been of a lot of interest because clearly a minister's office has been shackled, he's been arrested, it's unheard of really, and of course we've got the Speaker of the House who says now that he didn't actually give any such permission, so it's a problem.
Right,
and it's becoming a bit of a problem.
Why was his office and home raided?
Well, the fact is that the Home Office for some time have been speculating that someone's been getting out a lot of state secrets now.
Who died in horrible circumstances.
Politicians have to actually change their ways, really, because of what's happened to Baby P. So it shouldn't be happening, really, and it's wrong.
Yes.
And it's about time social service takes some responsibility, but the parents themselves.
Been held in high esteem by his peers, that must have been ebbed away a little bit, Ayo.
Yes, to an extent, and it shows the level of pressure that Gordon Brown is on. I'm sure when he thought about taking up the job, thought about it was going to be slightly easy, this must be a misfit, but really, he wasn't bold enough to call a general election. He wasn't bold enough to go for a referendum and ask the British public as to how they felt about the treaty. And wanting to be on 2 positions, on one position trying to give the British public the perception that he's not fully behind Europe, he has his own way, when in principle he's giving away all the rights that you and I aspire to in this country. I think Brown would like to do a bit more. He's always given the perception around the world of someone who cares about human rights, freedom of speech, and that's what the entire treaty is all about. It's about giving up all the things all the values that we hold dear, for Brussels to make those decisions for us. So I think he would rather, if this were to go away, not to happen at this juncture where he's struggling in the polls, where the Conservatives are gaining ground all the time, and more so about the fact that he himself is looking very lame, especially when people think about how Blair used to do it, and so he's playing second fiddle really. And
to a man who isn't even there anymore.
Well, the legacy of Blair was, Blair's been around for 10 years, and he'd been a number 2 for so long, and to stand up and to be counted in the same shoes as the man himself, Blair, it's a tool. For him personally, he's been grieving, and he's been going through the grieving process itself. It may appear a bit strange to you and I, because it's taken him 10 years to be grieving for that long. But the thing is, Alfred is a very rich man. He's in a position to employ people who can actually talk on his behalf and explain and put a particular picture out there. He's clearly not doing himself any justice in the manner in which he's doing so, and that is where the problem is how the public perceives him.
Promising ways to bring back worshippers?
I wouldn't have thought so, but I think the reasons behind it have got to be looked at. Here you've got the Catholic Church, which is very strict in its way. You go to any Catholic church, there's consistency in what you get when you go to a service. If you go to a Church of England, which is an Anglican church, there are lots of variations within that. And also the fact there's a lot of people have actually come from Eastern Europe, across Africa, into Britain, and of course most of them have either joined the Catholic setting or have actually moved into some of the more different churches in Britain, and of course the
back
Church
in our
of
streets and back in the UK. So it's a horrible time, and what a shock. After 10 years we thought it had all gone away,
and now to actually see this back in. And it's the intensity in which it happened, these guys posing as pizza drivers or delivering pizzas, and the fashion in which the shooting took place and the ease by which they actually escaped.